February 14th, 1945. 04 for 7 hours. The Hürtgen Forest. The trees stand like frozen skeletons, their bare branches clawing at a sky that hasn't seen daylight yet. Snow crunches softly under boots that haven't moved in 40 minutes. Somewhere ahead, no more than 30 yards away, a German bunker breathes death into the forest. Staff Sergeant Marcus M. Donovan, 23 years old, born and raised in Pittsburgh, crouches inside a shallow foxhole scraped into frozen earth. His knees ache. His fingers are numb, wrapped tightly around the cold steel of his M3 submachine gun. The men call it the grease gun because it looks like something stolen from a mechanic's garage. Right now, it feels like the only thing standing between him and the grave. The metallic taste in his mouth isn't from blood, it's fear. He checks his magazine without looking. 30 rounds. That's all. 30.45 caliber rounds against a German MG42 machine gun dug into concrete and steel. The MG42 fires 1,200 rounds per minute. Donovan doesn't need to be good at math to know how this ends. The MG42 opens up again. The sound isn't a bang or a crack. It's a tearing noise, like heavy canvas being ripped apart. Every American soldier who's heard it knows the sound instantly. Hitler's buzzsaw. The rounds chew into the trees overhead, splintering bark, spraying frozen wood chips into Donovan's face. He presses himself deeper into the dirt, wishing he could disappear into the earth. They've been pinned here for 40 minutes. 3 men are already dead. Donovan can hear Lieutenant Foster screaming orders somewhere behind him, trying to coordinate covering fire that never lasts long enough. M1 Garands crack. A bar barks for a few seconds, then goes quiet. Every burst of American fire dies too quickly. Every pause gives the MG42 time to speak again. Donovan exhales slowly. His breath hangs in the pre-dawn darkness like smoke. 6 seconds. That's how long his grease gun can fire continuously before the magazine runs dry. 6 seconds, then 4 to 6 seconds to reload if his hands don't fumble. 6 seconds of courage. 6 seconds of noise. Then silence. Silence gets men killed. He glances down at his weapon. Standard issue, cheap, stamped steel. 30 rounds. For spare magazines in his pouches, 120 rounds total. Enough to make noise, not enough to change the outcome. Then he sees something that doesn't fit. 20 feet to his left, crouched behind a fallen log, is Private Donald Williams, 19 years old, skinny, dirt streaked across his face. And hanging from his grease gun is something Donovan has never seen before. Welded together, not taped, not clamped, welded into a single brutal block of steel. 90 rounds before, RELOADING, Williams catches Donovan staring. He grins, teeth white against the grime, and mouths to words. Watch this. To understand why that moment mattered, you have to understand the problem American infantry faced by 1945, the M3 submachine gun. Officially entered service in December 1942. Its full designation was the M3.45 caliber submachine gun, but nobody called it that. Compared to the Thompson, the famous Tommy gun, the M3 was ugly, slow-firing, and cheap, and that was the point. A Thompson cost around $200 to manufacture. An M3 cost $20. The Thompson weighed over 10 pounds empty. The M3 weighed just 8. On paper, the M3 was perfect for mass production warfare. Simple blowback operation. Fewer parts, easier training, faster output. By 1944, thousands were in service across Europe, but the Germans had learned different lessons. On the Eastern Front, they discovered that defense won battles. Fortified positions, interlocking fields of fire, machine guns doing most of the killing. By the time American forces reached France, Belgium, and Germany, German defensive doctrine revolved around sustained automatic fire. At the heart of that doctrine was the MG42. The MG42 could fire up to 1,200 rounds per minute. It didn't need precision. It needed time. Time to keep heads down, time to deny movement, time to kill anyone who tried to advance. During a reload, an American infantry doctrine depended on something the M3 couldn't: provide sustained suppressive fire. Standard squad tactics required one element to fire while another moved, covering fire, bounding movement. Simple in theory, deadly in practice, because when covering fire stopped, even for seconds, The men in the open died. A 30-round magazine fired at 300 rounds per minute lasted 6 seconds. Changing magazines took 4 to 6 seconds under ideal conditions. Under fire with numb hands, longer, those gaps were enough. The Hürtgen Forest proved it. From September 1944 to February 1945, American forces fought one of the bloodiest campaigns of the European War. Dense forest, frozen ground, German bunkers everywhere. Casualties mounted relentlessly. 33,000 American casualties. 9,000 killed or missing. 24,000 wounded. After-action reports told the same story again and again. Units could not maintain suppressive fire long enough to maneuver against entrenched German positions. Men died during magazine changes. Assaults stalled. Squads froze under fire. The Battle of the Bulge made it worse. In December 1944, German forces smashed into American lines in the Ardennes. Close quarters, forest fighting. The 106th Infantry Division lost 8,000 men in 3 days. Survivors reported the same fatal weakness. Not bravery, not training. Firepower duration. Company commanders began writing it down. Captain James Ricks of Company C, 26th Infantry Regiment, submitted a report on January 12, 1945. His words were cold and precise. During assaults on fortified positions, friendly casualties increased 40% during magazine changes on submachine guns. Enemy automatic weapons maintained continuous fire. He requested an immediate solution. The mathematics were killing men. A German MG-42 team could fire 200 rounds before overheating. An American submachine gunner could not match that duration, not even close. The Ordnance Department studied the problem. Committees formed, tests proposed, timelines stretched into months. Men didn't have months, so frontline armorers did what? American soldiers have always done when official channels moved too slowly. They improvised. In January 1945, in places like Verviers, Belgium, and Durenne, Germany, welding torches lit up division armories after dark. Nobody knows who welded the first triple magazine. The name never made it into reports. It didn't matter. What mattered was the result. 3 standard 30-round M3 magazines welded side by side. 90 rounds. No new feed system. No moving parts. Just more ammunition available without stopping. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't pretty. But it worked. And on February 14, 1945, in the frozen Hürtgen Forest, Staff Sergeant Marcus Donovan was about to see exactly how much it changed the mathematics of survival. Private Williams rises from the snow like he's standing up in a shooting range, not in front of a German machine gun bunker. For a split second, Donovan thinks the kid has lost his mind. Then Williams shoulders the grease. Gun and the forest fills with a new sound. Not the ripping scream of the MG42.A, slower, heavier rhythm, thump, thump, thump. The M3's deliberate cadence echoes through the trees. Tracer rounds cut thin red lines through the darkness, every 5th round burning bright as they arc toward the bunker aperture. Williams walks forward, not running, not crouching low, walking. Each step deliberate, each burst controlled. The German MG42 hesitates. That hesitation is everything. The gunner inside the bunker has counted American fire before. 30 rounds, pause, 30 rounds, pause. He's trained for that rhythm. What he isn't trained for is a grease gun that doesn't stop. 10 seconds pass. Williams is still firing. Donovan's eyes flick to the triple magazine assembly hanging from the weapon. The welded steel block swings slightly with each step, but holds. No jams, just sustained fire. 20 rounds expended, 30, 40. Inside the bunker, movement erupts. Shadows flinch back from the firing slit. A German helmet flashes into view and vanishes as another burst slams into the concrete lip. The MG42 goes silent, not destroyed, but suppressed. The crew can't expose themselves long enough to aim. Now, move, now. Lieutenant Foster screams. Donovan launches from his foxhole before the order finishes. 6 men surge forward with him, boots pounding frozen ground. 35 yards. 30. The distance feels endless and over in seconds. Williams keeps firing. The grease gun's slow rate of fire becomes its greatest strength. 300 rounds per minute means every burst lasts longer. Every pull of the trigger delivers pressure instead of noise. There's no frantic dumping of ammunition. Just control. Just timed out 30 seconds since the first shot, 60 rounds downrange Williams. Finally ducks behind a stump as the last of the 90 rounds runs dry. He slaps the welded magazine assembly, twists it hard, and the second magazine clicks into position. The motion takes seconds. No full reload. No empty hands. The fire resumes before the Germans can recover, but they don't need it anymore. The squad is at grenade range. Lieutenant Foster pulls the pin on a marked a fragmentation grenade and hurls it toward the bunker aperture. It disappears inside. 2 seconds. 3. The explosion thuds deep and muffled, followed by screams. 2 more grenades follow. The MG-42 never fires again. Total time from Williams. First shot to bunker neutralization is 48 seconds. Friendly casualties, 0. Enemy casualties, 6 dead, 3 wounded, 4 captured. When the smoke clears, Donovan finds himself staring at the welded steel block hanging from Williams' weapon. The welds are ugly, uneven, spattered, but they've held 90 rounds fired without interruption. Captain Ricks, observing from the rear, says nothing. He doesn't need to. His face says everything. Before noon, he submits a request. 12 more by nightfall. Donovan has one of his own. The modification spreads faster than any official order ever could. Throughout February 1945, frontline armories work nonstop. Welding torches burn late into the night. M3 magazines are pulled from crates and clamped together in pairs and triples. Armorers reinforce receivers with scrap steel. Leather straps appear, looping from barrel jackets to magazine housings to support the weight. The triple magazine assembly weighs over 4 pounds when loaded. Hanging that weight from a stamped sheet metal receiver isn't ideal. Early versions crack welds. Magazine wells bend. Armorers adapt. Reinforcement plates, support straps. Improvise solutions that work just well enough. By mid-February, triple magazine grease guns are everywhere in 1st Army units. Squad leaders. Designated anyone expected to walk into fire. German prisoners notice immediately. Interrogations record the same phrase again and again. Endless storm. One captured soldier from the 12th Volksgrenadier Division tells his interrogator that they counted shots, waited for pauses that never came. Some men panicked, some broke and ran. Fear changes behavior faster than doctrine. On February 16, 1945, at 13:20 hours, Donovan's squad faces its next test, the village of Schmidt, Germany. A factory complex held by an estimated 40 to 60 German troops. For buildings, brick construction, multiple firing positions, no artillery support, no tanks. Under normal circumstances, the assault would be postponed or rerouted this time. The plan is different. Donovan has 4 men with triple magazine grease guns. They set up behind a destroyed truck 30 yards from the main building. Donovan and Williams form the base of fire. Corporal Jimmy Diaz and Private First Class Robert Chen flank right. Sergeant Harold Wade leads the assault element with 6 riflemen. The timing is unforgiving. Wade's team needs 20 seconds to cross the open ground. 20 seconds of uninterrupted suppression. Donovan fires first. 10-round bursts. Pause. 2 seconds. Another burst. Williams mirrors him. Diaz and Chen open up from the flank. For grease, guns speaking in rhythm, not chaos. The brick facade chips and cracks under the impacts. The .45 rounds don't penetrate deeply, but they don't need to. They deny space. They deny vision. German return fire is sporadic. A rifle cracks from a second-story window. The window explodes under sustained bursts. Another muzzle flash appears. Another burst drives it back. 20 seconds, nobody reloads. Wade's team reaches the wall. Grenades sail through windows. The assault element crashes inside. Close quarters fighting erupts. Short, violent, over quickly. By 13:47 hours, the building is secured. Company casualties, 2 wounded. German casualties, 14 dead, 21 captured during interrogation. One prisoner says something intelligence officers write down carefully. They knew American automatic weapons. They counted shots. These never stopped. One man fired for 30 seconds without pause. They could not return fire. Could not aim by March. The numbers tell the same story everywhere. Units equipped with triple magazine grease guns report casualty reductions averaging 27% during bunker and building assaults. The 26th Infantry Regiment tracks 43 engagements. Casualties drop from an average of 4.2 per assault to 2.8. It isn't bravery that changes, it's mathematics. 90 rounds means 30 seconds of continuous fire. 30 seconds means movement. Movement means survival. On March 3, 1945, First Army issues Field Memorandum 445. It doesn't authorize the modification. It acknowledges reality. Welding procedures, weight limits, function testing, standardization of something already in widespread use. By April, an estimated 3,000 triple magazine M3 submachine guns are in service. The Germans try to respond. Intelligence reports mention MP40s with dual magazine clamps. Crude attempts, 64 rounds. Less reliable. Too late. The war is moving too fast now, and the men carrying welded steel into combat are no longer counting rounds. They're counting seconds. Seconds of fire, seconds of life. Asterisk. By March 1945, the Germans know something has changed. Prisoners talk about it before interrogators ask. Infantrymen describe American submachine guns that do not pause, that fire and fire until rooms empty and men break. Defensive positions designed around predictable reload gaps no longer work. The mathematics that once favored the MG42 are slipping away. German intelligence bulletins captured later confirm it. American infantry now demonstrates sustained automatic fire capability previously unknown. Defensive units are warned not to expect reload windows during assaults. It is an admission, written in careful language, but it means the same thing everywhere. Their old tricks are failing. Donovan sees the effect immediately. German fire becomes cautious. More blind bursts. Less exposure. Machine gun crews hesitate to reveal positions. Several times during March, bunkers that would have fought to the last round fall silent when American squads close to 75 yards. Men inside withdraw. Rather than face another endless storm of fire. Urban combat magnifies the change. The advance east accelerates after the Rhine crossing at Villages turn into fortresses. Cities become mazes of brick, concrete, and shattered glass. Every window is a firing port. Every doorway a kill zone. Before February, room clearing costs lives every single time. Now the triple magazine grease guns take point in Cologne, Aachen, and smaller industrial towns that don't make headlines. Entry teams adopt a new rhythm. One man covers the door. One covers the window. Both armed with triple magazine M3 South. Sustained bursts pour into dark interiors, while assault teams move. No pauses, no silence. No invitation for defenders to rise and fire. Technical Sergeant Raymond Tucker of the 16th Infantry Regiment later describes it simply. They used to lose men on room entry. Now they suppressed continuously. Heads stayed down. Men stayed alive. The system isn't perfect. The added weight punishes the M3's thin metal receiver. Feed ramps wear faster. Extractors chip. Armorers work constantly. Weapons with reinforcement plates last longer. Those without fail early. Leather straps appear everywhere. Crude slings transferring weight forward. Saving magazine wells from tearing loose. Jamming increases slightly, from less than 1% to just over 1%. Acceptable. Soldiers clean obsessively. Dirt loves the extra metal surfaces. Welds crack if abused. Every mission begins with inspection. The operating method evolves too. Nobody empties. 90 rounds in one long burst unless they have to. 5 to 10 round bursts dominate. The M3's slow rate of fire makes this possible. Where a Thompson chews ammunition, the grease gun meters it 30 seconds of continuous fire or several minutes of tactical suppression. The choice belongs to the man pulling the trigger. Rotation becomes muscle memory. Center magazine empties. Twist the assembly. Click fire resumes. 3 seconds. Faster than a reload. Faster than death. Asterisk by mid-March, triple magazine carriers are assigned deliberately. Squad leaders, point men, entry support. The weapon is no longer just a gun. It's a role. German prisoners notice the difference in behavior. Americans move confidently under fire. They don't freeze during reloads anymore. They advance while firing instead of firing from cover and hoping fear shifts sides. The Germans attempt to imitate the concept. MP40s appear with dual magazine clamps. Two 32-round magazines taped or clamped side by side. 64 rounds total. Better than 32, worse than 90. Less stable, more prone to feed issues. German industry can't support mass modification now. Ammunition shortages worsen. Spare parts vanish. American armories keep welding. By April 1945, triple magazine grease guns appear in nearly every major engagement involving 1st Army Infantry. Estimates vary, but between 3,200 and 3,800 are in service. Not enough to arm everyone. Enough to change outcomes. Donovan feels it in his body before he understands it. In his head, he isn't waiting for silence anymore. Before, silence meant reloads. Silence meant danger. Now silence often means the enemy is gone. Suppression doesn't flicker. It holds. Movement flows through it. On March 29th, during fighting in Cologne, Donovan watches a young replacement hesitate at a doorway. The kid freezes for half a second. Donovan steps forward, raises his grease gun, and pours fire into the room. Sustained, controlled, relentless. The hesitation disappears. The team moves. Afterward, the kid looks at the welded magazines and nods once. No words needed. The Army finally catches up on paper. Field memorandums outline acceptable welding methods. Arc, or a set. Minimum tensile strength. Maximum weight. Required function testing. Magazines should be matched by manufacturer to ensure spring consistency. It reads like doctrine, but it's documentation of something already done. No centralized production ever exists. Division and regimental armories continue fabrication independently. Variations appear, some cleaner, some uglier, all brutal. All functional maintenance logs reflect the cost. 40% higher workload, more cracked receivers, more worn parts. Units accept it without complaint. A broken gun can be fixed. A dead man can't. The psychological effect is harder to quantify but impossible to miss. Captured German officers describe a loss of confidence in close range. Engagements. American infantry no longer pauses. Assaults feel inevitable. The endless noise breaks concentration. Men stop trying to time reloads because there are none. One Oberfeldwebel tells interrogators that it feels like fighting machine guns carried by infantrymen. The statement circulates quietly. By April, the war is collapsing inward on Germany. Resistance stiffens in pockets, then crumbles. Cities fall faster than planners predicted. Street fighting remains brutal, but shorter. Suppression dominates. Donovan's squad takes casualties, but fewer than before. The numbers don't lie. Fewer men lost per objective. Fewer names written on helmets. Fewer letters home, written by officers with shaking hands. And yet everyone knows this won't last. On May 8, 1945, Germany surrenders. Within weeks, priorities shift. Occupation duty, security, control. The triple magazine modification suddenly looks excessive, heavy, maintenance, intensive, unnecessary. Directives followed. Triple magazine assemblies are to be separated. Weapons return to standard configuration. The reason is practical. Occupation duty doesn't require sustained automatic fire. The stress on receivers isn't worth it. Peace doesn't need endless storms. Men don't want to give them up. Some weapons vanish in paperwork. Others are damaged beyond repair and quietly destroyed. A few make it home illegally in duffel bags. Most are cut apart and turned back into single magazines. By late 1945, fewer than 100 remain in official inventory. Military police units keep some in Berlin. Intimidation matters. The sight of welded steel still commands attention. Donovan turns his in without argument. The war is over, but the lesson remains. Sustained suppressive fire wins fights, not elegance, not beauty. Time. 30 seconds of fire changed everything, and the men who welded steel together in frontline armories changed the mathematics of survival. When no one else could, asterisk. When the guns finally fall silent in May 1945, the welded steel that carried American infantry through the last battles of Europe suddenly feels out of place. Germany surrenders on May 8th. Within days, first, Army units shift from assault to occupation. Patrols replace advances. Checkpoints replace foxholes. The mathematics of war change again. Suppressive fire is no longer the currency of survival. Discipline and control are headquarters notices immediately. In July 1945, directives circulate quietly. Triple magazine assemblies are to be separated. Weapons return to standard configuration. The reasoning is practical, not emotional. Occupation duty doesn't require sustained automatic fire. The added weight accelerates where maintenance time is better spent elsewhere. On paper, it makes sense to the men who carried them. It feels like giving up armor. Donovan turns his in at a collection point outside Frankfurt. The armorer cuts the welds with a torch. The steel screams as it separates. 3 magazines become 3 again. Donovan watches without speaking. The weapon that gave him 30 seconds of life at a time becomes ordinary. Most disappear quickly. Others vanish into storage depots. A few are kept by military police units in Berlin and Vienna. Intimidation still matters when crowds gather and order is fragile. By October 1945, fewer than 100 triple magazine grease guns remain inofficial. Army inventory. The war moves on. Donovan returns to Pittsburgh in September. He trades frozen forests for steel mills. He works 42 years, raises 3 children, lives a life that feels almost normal. In a drawer, he keeps one photograph from Germany. His squad stands together. For men holding grease guns with welded magazines, he doesn't talk about it much. When his grandchildren ask, he points to the picture and says only this: "That thing saved my life 6 times I can count." Private Donald Williams. The kid from Ohio who walked toward a bunker while everyone else stayed frozen receives a Silver Star. He survives the war. Returns to Youngstown, opens a hardware store. He keeps his service records in a safe deposit box. In the 1980s, he speaks at local schools. When students ask what he remembers most clearly, he doesn't talk about medals or Germany or fear. He talks about sound. 90 rounds firing without stopping, the sound of staying alive. Lieutenant Colonel Robert Hayes continues his Army career. Retiring in 1961, his personal papers, donated decades later, provide the clearest documentation of the triple magazine. Modification, letters, photographs, notes, written in pencil during February 1945. They describe a weapon that wasn't supposed to exist in a problem that couldn't wait for permission. The story never makes it into textbooks. No official designation, no field manual chapter, no museum plaque during the war itself. The modification was too informal, too improvised, too honest about how war really works, but the principle survives. Modern armies build entire weapons around the idea that saved men in 1945. The M249 squad automatic weapon fires 200-round belts. Helicopter door guns pour continuous fire. Vehicle-mounted weapons exist for one reason: keep enemy heads down long enough for friendly forces to move. That's all the triple magazine did. It didn't make the M3 more accurate. It didn't change ballistics. It didn't turn infantrymen into superheroes. It gave them time, 30 seconds instead of 6, 30 seconds to move, to breathe, to live. Collectors occasionally find triple magazine M3 submachine guns today. Most are deactivated. Some are legally registered under federal law. Authentication is difficult. Welding style matters. Magazine matching matters. Receiver reinforcement tells the story. Museums hold a few. The National World War II Museum in New Orleans displays one donated by a veteran's family. The West Point Museum keeps 2 in storage. The Smithsonian holds one, cataloged quietly among thousands of artifacts. Walk past them without realizing what they represent. Not innovation from a laboratory. Innovation from desperation. The men who welded those magazines together didn't think about history. They thought about the next assault, the next reload gap, the next letter home that wouldn't be written. The Germans, who called it the endless storm, understood something fundamental. War isn't just courage or technology, it's mathematics, firepower duration, suppression time, the ability to deny the enemy a moment to act. In early 1945, American infantry lost too many men because their fire stopped too soon. Welded steel changed that. The triple magazine grease gun was not elegant. It was heavy, ugly, hard on equipment. Never officially celebrated, it existed for a few months. did its job, and vanished. But during those months, it tipped the balance in countless small fights that never made headlines. A bunker cleared without losses, a doorway crossed without a body falling, a squad that came home whole instead of broken. These are the victories that don't appear in victory parades. They live in photographs kept in drawers, in hardware stores in Ohio, in steel mills in Pittsburgh, and in the sound remembered by men who knew that sometimes survival comes down to whether your weapon keeps firing when everything else tells you it shouldn't. If this story stayed with you, it's because it deserves to. These are the stories that explain how wars are really won, not by perfect plans, but by imperfect solutions made under fire, by soldiers and armorers who refused to accept the mathematics they were given and changed it with welding torches and courage. Remember them, because sometimes 30 seconds is everything.